Welcome to The Explainer, brought to you by Forge College. Today, we're drafting the engineering blueprint for Scalable API architecture. We're picking up right where we left off with our documentation strategy, but now it's time to shift gears. We're moving from, dreaming about what a product should do in a perfect world to dealing with the hard, uncompromising reality of system constraints. Because when you're building for scale on the blockchain, you literally can't rely on wishes. Let's dive right in.
Here is our agenda for today. 1. Vague demands. 2. Blueprint basics. 3. The 5-step workflow. 4. Constraint tables. 5. Code enforcements. And 6. Capstone prep.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, Vague Demands. So in our previous explainer, we gathered stakeholder needs, right? But here's the thing. Raw product feedback is actually pretty dangerous for engineers. It's full of feelings, not facts. I mean, we've all heard hilarious, borderline impossible demands like wallet sync should feel instant. It sounds absolutely brilliant in a product meeting, but trying to wire server components based on this vague floating idea, that just leads to endless architectural rework down the line. You simply can't code a feeling. If you try, you're going to end up in this miserable loop where the stakeholder tests it, says, it still doesn't feel instant enough, and suddenly you're ripping up your database queries all over again. So, the absolute crucial question for us as engineers is, what does instant actually mean in code? Computers don't understand feelings, right? They deal in hard logic, hard numbers. When a stakeholder says instant, are we talking 50 milliseconds? 500 milliseconds? Like before user even blinks? To bridge that gap between product intent and actual system design, we have to force our stakeholders to make a word like instant completely measurable. We need to pin them down to a specific number. Otherwise, we're just guessing. And honestly, guessing is the absolute enemy of scalable architecture.
Moving on to Section 2, Blueprint basics. We've got to turn those qualitative feelings into quantitative engineering constraints. So enter the SLO, or service level objective. This is essentially a measurable target for your system's behavior that includes a metric, a numeric threshold, and an observation window. Simply put, an SLO is a strict promise. It tells us exactly how our system must behave over a specific period of time rather than just kind of guessing if it's working or not. By defining these 3 things, you take a vague wish and lock it into a rock-solid, enforceable technical contract. It's literally the difference between saying, hey, I'll be there soon, and I will arrive at exactly 5 p.m.
Now, we break these promises down into primary non-functional categories. Let's use a coffee shop analogy, because it really helps nail down how this works in practice. Latency, that's the stopwatch. How fast can the barista make your one single coffee? Throughput is the volume. How many total coffees can they pump out per hour during that crazy morning rush? Availability is super simple. Is the shop even open when you yank on the door handle? Consistency means making sure your latte tastes exactly the same every single Tuesday, no matter who's working. And operational limits, that's the physical max capacity of coffee beans they can actually store in the back room before the health inspector shuts them down. When you're building APIs, you have to account for these exact same dynamics. Latency is your API response time. Throughput is your requests per second. Availability is your server uptime. Consistency is making sure your database state is perfectly accurate, and operational limits, those are your memory caps.
All right, Section 3, the 5-step workflow.
So, how do we systematically convert a stakeholder's messy sketch into a highly technical schematic? Well, we use a repeatable 5-step pipeline. Step 1, capture the quote verbatim so you don't lose that original context. Step 2, classify the category, like are they complaining about latency speed or is this a throughput volume issue? Step 3, quantify it with a hard SLO number. Step 4, specify the integration boundaries for external dependencies, like your RPC providers. If you're new to Web3, RPC providers are basically the third-party messengers that talk to the blockchain for you. You don't control how fast they run, so you have to draw a hard boundary right there. And finally, Step 5, validate and prioritize with a concrete test plan, like a massive load test. This is exactly how you take total control of your system instead of just hoping for the best.
Next up, Section 4, Constraint Tables. This brings us to the centerpiece of your architecture nodes, where all those steps come together into one single source of truth, the constraint table. So that vague wallet updates fast idea, that gets transformed into a precise metric, a P95 read latency of under 300 milliseconds. And if you're new to this, P95 just means 95% of your users will experience speeds faster than that threshold. It basically leaves a little breathing room for inevitable network hiccups without breaking your OR promise. We measure this via an Edge API histogram over a rolling window. We also define things like peak drop load as 10K requests per second
for 5 solid minutes. I mean, think about that volume for a second. That's a massive traffic spike during an NFT mint or a token launch. We also want rare RPC failures, so we target an availability of 99.95% per month, monitored synthetically. This table literally forces precision. Ambiguity is no longer allowed anywhere near your code, because everyone knows the exact numbers we're targeting. Let's hit Section 5, Code Enforcements. Now, as you progress through your capstone projects here at Forge College, you have to actually wire this up in code. We can build a simple express middleware. Let's call it Slowgate. Think of middleware like a bouncer at the door of your server. This bouncer enforces soft latency gates and records Prometheus histogram metrics for our SLO evaluations. Prometheus is basically this monitoring tool that absolutely loves hoarding data, and a histogram just groups your response times into buckets so you can easily see trends over time. It's a super elegant way to track exactly how long requests take right at the edge of our network before things even have a chance to get messy. Here's how our digital bouncer actually operates in 4 simple steps. First, it starts a high-resolution timer. Second, it awaits the route handler to do its job. Third, if an on-chain blockchain call takes way too long, it triggers a soft gate timeout. And finally, instead of crashing the app and leaving the user staring at a broken, frozen screen, it performs a graceful degradation. It returns a 202 HTTP status with cached partial data. It's essentially telling the user, hey, we're working on it, here's what we have so far, rather than just slamming the door in their face. It keeps the experience completely smooth even when the backend server is sweating under a heavy load. It's just a massive win for user experience. And lastly, Section 6, Capstone Prep. Let's wrap up by looking at how you'll present all of this in your final architecture document to literally prove your system is ready for scale. We're looking at the ultimate transformation here. We take that vague, cloudy demand, users see deposits instantly during drops, and we convert it into a rigorous JSON SLO object. We use JSON because, well, it's a clean, machine-readable format that engineers and automated systems absolutely love. It's totally unambiguous. It maps the metric to a P99 latency, meaning 99% of users hit this targeting under 1 second over a 7-day rolling window. You're going to transform every single vague demand into this strict format. Make no mistake, this is the absolute hallmark of a senior engineer. So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought for today's explainer. Are your API fallbacks driven by hope or by a hard metric? Before our next lesson on system integration, take the time to really refine your constraint tables. And hey, if you want to dive deeper into this subject, master Web3 architectures, and build out your capstone, visit us at forge.college. Thanks so much for joining me on the explainer today, and happy building.